In the business world, it's dog eat dog, and you need every bit of competitive edge you can possibly get. Whether you're a salesperson, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or corporate executive, you've landed on the podcast that gives you that edge and more. This is the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. Exploring the strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts needed to elevate your business and leadership skills to new heights. Your host has walked the walk. He's coached thousands of clients to remarkable results and rubbed shoulders with legends like Tony Robbins, Ken Blanchard, Jack Canfield, and Brian Tracy. It's practical advice, inspiring stories, and the occasional dose of tough love, helping you to overcome challenges and seize opportunities. This is the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. And now your host, owner of Potential in Motion, coaching you to the edge of what's possible, Tom Kelly.
Welcome to the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. Today I'm going to cover a topic that I literally cover with every client I've ever coached. No matter who you are, where you live, what you do, or what kind of background you come from, there's one resource that is equal for everyone. That resource is time. If you're like most people, though, this resource always seems limited. There never seems to be enough time in the day to get everything done, and that's why almost everyone struggles with managing their time. With that in mind, in today's episode, I'm going to explore ways to triple your effectiveness. I'll talk a little bit about how big of a problem this is, and then I'll give you my top 10 keys to help you open up huge blocks of time in your day so that you can be more effective, have more freedom, and be able to have at least a little balance in your life. By the end of the podcast, you'll have a number of tools that you can leverage to maximize your time. You'll be able to improve your effectiveness in all areas of your life, lower your stress, and have more freedom. So let's jump in and get started. Back in 1982, Ken Blanchard published one of his most successful books, The 1 Minute Manager. The book focused on how to effectively lead people. Obviously, a lot has changed since 1982. Today, our world is much more fast-paced, and we have what I like to call the Got-a-Minute Manager. What is the Got-a-Minute Manager? The average manager gets one interruption every 8 minutes, or approximately 7 an hour, or 50 to 60 per day. The average interruption takes 5 minutes, totaling about 4 hours, or 50% of the average workday. 80% of those interruptions are typically rated as little value or no value, creating approximately 3 hours of wasted time per day. Whether you're a manager or not, I'm sure you can relate to this. Furthermore, opportunities and distractions are rising exponentially. In fact, a recent study found that the average person gets bombarded by 3,500 marketing messages per day. You start to add in the fact that we're accessible via phone, text, and instant messenger through the devices we hold in our hand all day, and it's no wonder that most people feel the pressure of not having enough time to accomplish everything we need to and want to during a typical day. So what can you do about it? Here are my top 10 tips on how to take your time back and triple your effectiveness. Tip number 1 is know exactly what you want and why you want it. If you want to be able to massively increase your effectiveness in all areas of your life, you have to start with getting clear about what's important to you. I have a saying, clarity is power. When you're crystal clear about what you want and why you want it, then you can align your daily actions with your intentions. This is a powerful 1-2 punch that will provide the foundation for maximizing your effectiveness. So, how do you get that sort of clarity? What I would recommend is to think about the key roles in your life that are important to you. Perhaps you're a manager or you own a business. That would be one role. Maybe you're a mom and a wife, and those roles are important to you as well. Whatever your key roles are, sit down and determine what success looks like in that area of your life. Then determine why those goals are important to you. Ask yourself the question, why is this a must for me? Additionally, how am I going to benefit from achieving this outcome, and what will it cost me if I don't? Those are great questions to get clarity around your why. Once you have clarity around your goals and you know what you want and why you want to achieve them, then you have a great foundation you can build from. When you combine this with the next tip I'm going to give you, you'll be well on your way to maximizing your time and effectiveness. My tip number 2 is align your actions with your intentions. Once you know what you want and why, then you have to break down your goals and schedule those actions. I call this building an ideal schedule. An ideal schedule helps you proactively manage your time around the key things that are important to you. If you don't do this, you're going to be in reactionary mode all the time. I have a saying, if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to get done. This mindset allows you to proactively schedule your time in advance in a way that aligns your time with the goals and areas of your life that are important to you. This is the starting point for all success. Tip number 3 is learn to say no. When it comes to tripling your effectiveness, one of the most successful words that you can leverage is the word no. Saying no often allows you to put boundaries around your time. If you implement tips 1 and 2, it will be much easier to say no to things, as you know immediately if what you're being asked to spend time on aligns with your goals and values. This will create space for you to focus on what's important to you instead of just reacting to whatever's coming at you. Tip number 4 is stop tolerating things. Raise your standards and stop tolerating anything but the best. When you do this, you will find that you attract more of what you want. You'll expend less time and energy dealing with time wasters and things that get under your skin. Additionally, others around you will be forced to raise their standards as well. Your effectiveness and the effectiveness of those around you will increase massively when you stop tolerating things. If you're wondering how to do this, simply take out a piece of paper and write down all the things that you are tolerating or the things that are robbing you of your time and energy. Then simply pick 1 or 2 each week and figure out how to get rid of it and remove it from your list. Over time, you'll notice that your energy level goes up as well as your effectiveness. Tip number 4 is cut your meeting times in half. Parkinson's first law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So when you schedule a meeting for an hour long, the meeting is going to expand to fit into that time. When you cut your meeting times in half, it saves 50% of your time, and you'll end up with the same outcome. Furthermore, as an extension of this, just get rid of the meeting in the first place. If you're honest with yourself, many if not most of the meetings and appointments you have are a waste of time. So leverage tip number 4 and stop tolerating meetings that are a waste of your time and take your time back so you can use it for something more important and effective. Tip number 5 is improve your systems. There's a great game that I play with the audience when I do one of my keynote speeches on extreme time management. I won't share all the details of the game here, but when the audience is done, they can easily see how having better systems will exponentially improve their effectiveness. The reality is that when you have great systems, things are taken care of effortlessly. So take some time to review all of your systems and implement some changes to make them even more effective. When the system takes care of it, you don't have to. Tip number 6, double your expectations. This one may seem extreme, but it works. Expect twice as much from others that you would expect from yourself. Don't fall into the trap of assuming that others can't do this. If you expect it, you might be surprised what actually happens. If you're not getting pushback, you aren't asking enough. The reality is that today, most people's standards are really low, so doubling your expectations can really improve not only your effectiveness, but theirs as well. Tip number 7 is delegate everything. Yes, that's right, delegate everything. The key to being massively effective is to focus on getting the outcome you want, not doing the work yourself. One way to really leverage this tip is to get clear about what your time is worth, and then delegate everything that's not worth your time to someone else. For example, if your time is worth $100 an hour, then you can delegate things like cleaning your house, mowing your lawn, running errands, and a whole host of other things to people that can do them better, faster, and cheaper than you can. Anything that's less than $100 an hour needs to go. Leverage your team and your resources and open up huge blocks of time to focus on what's important to you. One of the best things that I ever did personally was to hire an assistant in my business. I pay her a fraction of what my time is worth, and she's way more effective at the tasks that she does than I am. That opens up all sorts of time that I can leverage. You can also leverage technology as a resource for this as well. Tip number 8, accelerate your time frames. Start living more urgently by being completely unreasonable and cutting your time frames in half, if not more. This is really important if you run a business, by the way, as speed is more and more important if you want to have a competitive advantage. If you think about it, there are all sorts of examples of this in our society. Amazon has made it possible to get almost anything you want delivered to your doorstep almost immediately, or at least within 24 hours. With AI, you can get answers and results in literally seconds. When you accelerate your time frames, it forces you to come up with creative ways to hack the time needed to complete the task at hand. You'll be amazed at how much more time you have and how effective this is when you become completely unreasonable with your time frames. Tip number 9, stop reacting to email. I always say email is the world's best organization system for other people's agendas. Instant Messenger is email on steroids. Social media is another one that I would put into this bucket of huge time wasters. Not only do these things waste your time, they're highly addictive. Every time the beep goes off in your phone, you get a dopamine hit. Before you know it, you can't stop yourself. If you want to get rid of this problem once and for all, simply set up 1 or 2 times a day to check email and then schedule it. Then shut down your email, your instant messenger, and your social media and only reply during those scheduled times. This will help you end that addiction, improve your focus, and open up large blocks of time so you can do other things. And my final tip, tip number 10, is fire your clients. Yes, this sounds kind of extreme, doesn't it? If you own a business or are a salesperson, the reality is that 80% of your sales come from the top 20% of your clients. It's also true that 80% of your headaches come from the bottom 20%. So if you fire the bottom 20%, it's going to open up 80% of your time to focus on your top 20. I recently had one of my clients do this, and he massively increased his sales as a result. This strategy will help you become much more effective while reducing your stress at the same time. For those of you that don't own a business and aren't in sales, managing your boss also falls into this category. If you look at the statistics on this, 85% of someone's happiness at work comes down to the relationship they have with their boss. By learning how to manage your boss and teach them how to effectively lead you, you'll save a ton of time and energy. So just to recap, here are my top 10 tips to triple your effectiveness. Tip number 1, know exactly what you want and why. Tip number 2, align your actions with your intentions. Tip number 3 is learn to say no. Tip number 4, cut your meeting times in half. Tip number 5, improve your systems. Tip number 6, double your expectations. Tip number 7 is delegate everything. Tip number 8, accelerate your time frames. Tip number 9, stop reacting to email. And finally, tip number 10 is fire your clients. So that wraps up today's podcast on how to triple your effectiveness so that you can maximize your time, lower your stress, and have more freedom. If you found today's episode useful, you can also access a number of free resources that will help you improve your business as well as your leadership on my website at www.businesscoachchicago.com. Also, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, as I would love to connect with you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please click the subscribe button, leave a review, and of course, invite your friends to listen in as well. I'm Tom Kelly, and until next time, enjoy your week.
You've been listening to the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. On this highly useful podcast for people in the business world, you get the absolute top-notch info from an absolute pro on how to elevate your business and your leadership skills. Tom Kelly owns Potential in Motion, coaching you to the edge of what's possible. He's also a professional speaker and leadership trainer. He's worked with some of the biggest names in the coaching business: Tony Robbins, Ken Blanchard, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy. To sign up for a complimentary coaching session and to access some great free resources, hit the website at businesscoachchicago.com. Your success is not just a possibility, it's a certainty. See you next time on the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast.